Hi, everyone. We're happy to have you here. For those who don't know me, I'm Stephanie Sendaula. I am Programming and Outreach Specialist here at LibraryLink New Jersey. I am so thrilled for this final event in our Summer Book Bash. I'm thrilled to introduce you to Carrie Zhao, School and Library Marketing Associate at Chronicle Books, and Andy Krozik, Children's Marketing and Publicity Director at Chronicle Books. Carrie and Andy are going to show you their upcoming highlights and can't miss books. And at the end, we're giving away prizes. The prizes are awesome, by the way. They're on my desk right now, and they are so, so cool. And with that, Carrie and Andy, please take it away and introduce yourselves.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks for having us, especially on your last one of this series. And we did not know that this presentation would start with such a great conversation about Halloween costumes, but this first book that I'm going to talk about is actually really full of great Halloween costume ideas. It is Endlessly Ever After by Laurel Snyder, illustrated by Caldecott medalist Dan Santat. And it takes you through, several different paths, 35 to be exact, of different endings. They all start with Rosie, who is our Little Red Riding Hood, and they wind through different stories: The Three Little Pigs, Hansel and Gretel, Sleeping Beauty, Snow White. In some paths, Rosie dies. In some, she vanquishes the wolf. In others, she ends up having a picnic with a bunch of dwarves or falling asleep into a magical sleep. And in the longest path, she ends up going on to future adventures. This book came about a few years ago when our executive editor, Melissa Manlove, was thinking about how much children love to get to make choices, especially picture book age kids. And Melissa wondered why there weren't more choose your path style picture books that give kids the chance to navigate through a story themselves. And as Melissa was wondering this, she talked to Laurel Snyder, who she works with on several other books. And they ended up having a lot of different creative conversations about how it could work. And so this very smart, funny, surprising book was what came out of those conversations. This book has a lot of breadth in terms of age group. A caregiver could read it one path per night at bedtime to a kindergartner. And even the longest path is a nice picture book length. But kids in first, second, and even third grade will find it to be fascinating, and independent readers will want to spend time on their own navigating the many twists and turns in the book. This book came out in April, and there is a downloadable activity kit available on the book's site, on our website, and on many of the wholesaler accounts as well.
Now I'll be talking about One Boy Watching by Grant Snyder. This is from the very talented creator of Incidental Comics, who also wrote and illustrated What Sound is Morning and What Color is Night on our list. The picture book documents the commute of one boy to school from the countryside into the city. Readers can follow along by counting the objects that come into view, which really create like a very nice rhythm to the story. Grant was inspired by his own school bus commute as a child. He also rode bus number 4, which is featured in the book, to school in Kansas while he was growing up. I personally love how this title explores the experience of being a passenger, which I think is overlooked a lot of times in life. I feel like anyone, when they're on a long car ride or even in commute, you're always thinking about how much longer does it take, or when will we get there? Or for me this morning, why is my train delayed for so long? But One Boy Watching is a really nice reminder to slow down and kind of take in that time from getting one place to another. And the book finally ends with the boy reaching school, as you can see here in this spread. So it's just a really sweet book from Grant Snyder. And this is on our spring list, so it's already out.
Right, next up we have Black Girl Rising. In this deeply moving celebration and rallying cry, and in the face of many messages that still work to convince Black girls that they should shrink themselves or hide their light, know their place, Bryn Barnes and illustrator Tatiana Fazlal-Azadeh reclaim that narrative. A Black girl's place is everywhere. and her selfhood is everything she can dream it to be. In the text, it says, "You are 1,000 curls unfurling in your hair. You are 1,000 fists standing proudly in air. You are the song of swallows lifting sun as they sing, breaking light with their beaks, breaking sky with their wings." With poignant poetic prose and striking color-drenched illustrations, this empowering picture book centers the inherent worthiness and radiance of Black girls that is still far too often denied. It's a love letter to and for Black girls everywhere. Black Girl Rising alchemizes the sorrow and strength of the past into the brilliant gold of the future. It's sweeping young readers of all backgrounds into the lyrical exploration of what it means to be Black, female, and glorious. This art is just absolutely stunning. Tatiana's background is in pastels, but also these just stunning murals that she does throughout cities. And so you can really see that captured in these spreads throughout the book.
And I remember Bryn saying like all of the girls on these pages look like people in her life, right?
Yeah.
Like, she's like, these are like my cousins and my friends. So that was really lovely.
Yeah. And in the text, she's pulling reference to various figures throughout history and current day. But yeah, I remember she's saying that they're just people in her life as well. It's really powerful.
Next on our list is Wilds of the United States by Alexander Vidal. This is a nonfiction illustrated book for middle grade readers and the guide to wildlife in the United States. Alexander has put together a volume of maps, diagrams, really informative images featuring different ecosystems. There's like icons to tell the reader what animals' different survival skills are. It's really fun. It's kind of interactive and not at all overwhelming for young readers, in my opinion, like very accessible. He takes the reader through different regions of the United States, starting on the East Coast, ending on the West Coast. And so you really feel like you're going on like a journey with him through the various ecosystems and looking at all the plants and animals that come to life in this book.
Right. Fox and Chick Up and Down. This is the 4th installment of our Geisel Award-winning series. Recently, an editor at Chronicle said that the Fox and Chick books are like Seinfeld episodes for early readers. They're perfect little gems, wonderfully absurdist, perfect portrayals of real friendship and humanity, seemingly about nothing, but also somehow really necessary and important, and also genuinely laugh out loud funny. In these adventures, Fox and Chick go sledding, Chick is stuck in a tree and has to figure out how to get down, and Chick builds a bookcase. The author-illustrator Sergio Rousier is himself both Chick and Fox, and these books, like Sergio himself, are a combination of sweet and wry. Sergio is truly a classic bookmaker, and in reading these and reading the previous books, it's no accident that he was a Maurice Sendak Fellow. You can just tell truly in the way that he lays out the cadence of the stories in his illustrations, just truly understands the child reader and their humor for sure.
Next, we have Wash Day Diaries. I'm really excited to talk about this one. This is by Jamila Rouser and Robin Smith. This is actually a graphic novel on our adult list, but it features some mature content, but it crosses over very nicely to any older young adult readers. The book follows 4 Black women who live in the Bronx who are best friends, and it's structured in 5 interconnected short stories that feature each character's lives and all their ups and downs, their wash days, and also their Black hair care routines. So a really brief introduction to this cast. We have Kim, who is a singer trying to avoid a persistent suitor, and then Nisha, who is a photographer caught up in a love triangle that ends up getting tied up into her work. Zavine, who is feeling very lost and struggling with her mental health, and finally Cookie, whose Dominican grandmother is trying to make amends for past homophobia. So here, this is Kim's short story, and then on the next spread we kind of see the four friends gathered together, so each character has her own color palette and we see like all those colors mixing together here, which I thought was really nice. I personally just adore the female friendships in this story. I love how it's so slice of life, really low stakes, just like a glimpse into these characters' lives. And even though you spend a pretty short time with each character, you definitely come away super sympathetic to their struggles and wanting more stories and gossip from this friend group.
Right. Next up, switching age groups quite a bit, but we have Over and Under the Waves by Kate Messner, illustrated by Christopher Silas Neal. This is the next in their beloved series. It's an exploration of the gorgeous, mysterious, vibrant depths of the kelp forest, which teems with so many different creatures. We have otters and sea urchins, fish and jellies, and of course, the curious nature-loving people who kayak, swim, and visit the waves. It's full of color, as you can tell, and the creatures celebrated build an intrigue and interest with each turn of the page. We have pale moon jellies swinging in the current, two massive humpback whales whose sardine feeding rocks their kayaks, octopi changing color in a camouflage magic trick under the waves, and it all ends in sunset, bedtime dreams, and this stunning last line. Tonight, stars of the sky meet stars of the sea in a secret world under the waves. And as always in the rest of this series, there's very compelling back matter, including additional information about each of the creatures found in the book, an author's note from Kate Messner speaking to her inspiration, which was the Monterey Bay, and further reading on the topic. It's an excellent resource for teachers, librarians, and nature-loving parents.
Next on our list, we have, well, we'll hope you'll like. This is by Annie Barrows, the author behind the Ivy and Bean series, which, just plugging this in, the movies will be coming out on Netflix September 2nd, so very excited for that. And illustrated by Leo Espinoza, whose work includes Island Born, a Parabelle Prey honor book for illustration, and the more recent The World Belonged to Us by Jacqueline Woodson. Like takes the reader through comparisons with various animate and inanimate objects as the main character starts to think about what they are like. So as you can see here, like a tin can or an excavator. Finally, the main character concludes that actually humans are more alike each other than a tin can or excavator. And my personal favorite comparison in here is the hyena. I think that spread is really fun. Annie's signature humor really shines through in this picture book, and Leo's art is just so bright and captivating and kid friendly. We're really excited to be sharing this collaboration with you, and like is coming out on sale next month, September 20th. This title is also me. Jumping into middle grade, Jordan J. and the Truth About Jordan J. is a third book in the Kids Under the Stairs series by Kay Holt, following Ben B and the Teacher Griefer and Ben Y and the Ghost in the Machine. So the Kids Under the Stairs series follows a group of neurodivergent kids who all fail a standardized test and have to take a remedial class during summer school. Carrie, in writing this series, drew upon her own experiences after being labeled a divergent thinker when she was a kid. And Jordan J. specifically is written in free verse, chat logs, bullet pointed lists, and illustrations. So it's really appealing to any readers who are looking for something that's more visual based than text based. The main character, Jordan, is practicing to audition for his a dance show that's a lot like So You Think You Can Dance, but with his mom's recent unemployment and money being very tight at home, he really struggles to make his dreams a reality. Then Jordan suddenly meets like a new friend who actually makes it on the dance show, and he, through choreography,
Yep.
for her, gets a chance to show his dance moves on national television. So yeah, it's just a really fun book about dance with written in multimedia visuals, and excited for this one to be coming out next month.
Right. Another middle grade novel on our fall list is Front Country. This book is about a girl who has spent her entire childhood ensuring she does everything perfectly, only to then, as a teenager, kind of question the purpose of all of that. Long story short, Ginny's science teacher is so fed up with teenage complacency that he scares them into absolute terror about the fate of the world. What really brings it home for her is the fact that pikas, her favorite animal, you see that the tiny little critters at the bottom of the cover there, are severely endangered, and that she learns that by the time she's in college, they might not exist anymore. So she kind of panics. She quits everything that she's involved in. Her grades plummet, and her parents kind of freak out, and they send her to what she thinks is nature camp, but it's really a therapy camp to try to get her back on track. So she is stuck there with no cell phone. She is the only girl at this camp and has two very eager counselors with activities called like bonding at base camp and talking truth, and has no idea how she's going to survive this camp. But what's really important about this book is that kids who read it will leave it and become activated themselves. Literally, the last 3 words of the book are "get to work." And while the book is honest about the scary state of the environment, it's really empowering and galvanizing, not depressing. And it's also really exciting. At its core, it's a book about the only girl in a group of boys in the middle of nowhere for a whole month. You'll have characters you despise, characters you wish you knew, moments that will make you gasp. And Ginny, the main character, is like really kick-ass. She's authentic, she's driven and smart, and she really likes to stick it to the man. She's kind of questioning our approach to climate change and the purpose of this camp that she's at. She's also very flawed, which makes her very real and relatable, and someone that like every reader is going to be able to identify with. So very excited for this book to get into young readers' hands. This will be out in October.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
October
The on
4th.
sale date just changed this week because of some shipping delays. October 4th.
Next on our list is what I think is the strongest contender for best title on our fall list, Killer Underwear Invasion by Elise Gravel. This is a great nonfiction book for readers in grades 4 to 7. And basically it features Elise Gravel dives into what fake news is, and she defines it through several different ways, but using like humor to introduce it to young readers. Also, it's written in this comic style, as you can see here, which is super engaging for, I think, kids of that age group. And it basically, this book is a really great tool to help kids learn what news is, what news is true and what isn't. So she breaks down what fake news is and what it isn't, why people spread it, with misinformation happening everywhere. I think it's really just becoming increasingly important to help kids navigate this modern media landscape. Elise essentially tackles really hard subjects, but makes them hilarious. And she uses like her or she makes up news stories like killer underwear invasion. So instead of breaking down specific news stories, she uses those as ways to get kids interested in what she's teaching. And this book essentially is a really great way to equip young readers with skills to improve their own media literacy. So hopefully they'll come away with a better grasp on how to research and judge information before making their own opinions about certain things. Cool.
Right. Next up is Lolas Light by Liz Garten Scanlon. This is genuinely one of the most beautiful middle grade books that I've ever read. I find that it's very important to give kids serious stories in which really intense things happen, because that's the reality of their world. So many young readers experience intense things that are incredibly difficult before they're ready for it. And this book depicts one such experience with respect and authenticity. The premise is simple. 12-year-old Millie is babysitting her neighbor's infant for the first time. It all goes fine while Millie is there, but during the night, the baby Lolo dies of sudden infant death syndrome. Millie did nothing wrong. Lolo was fine when the neighbors got back home, but guilt doesn't follow logic, and Millie can't help but to feel responsible. And she is just incredibly, incredibly sad. And this book is about Millie grieving this complicated, tricky situation. It's a coming of age book as Millie explores her understanding of the situation and deals with the repercussions. She does so with her family, her friends, and with Lolo's family. And we watch her go from a child to a young adult. Readers will ache for this tragedy, admire her for her bravery, and empathize with this awful situation, and love her for her just gigantic heart. The main thrust of the plot is obviously watching Millie process this grief. Simultaneously at school, she is working through this science project of the kind of classic egg incubation project that results in hatching chicks. And so Millie's understanding of life and death is kind of informed by this experience in this kind of metaphorical experiment. Liz Garten Scanlon is just an incredible writer, and I'm sure you're familiar with many of her picture books, and you can tell that she's a picture book writer first, because every word that she chooses here is just beyond thoughtful, careful, and like perfectly chosen for its need. And just the language in here is beautiful and tells just such a compelling story. So excited for Lolas Light, which will also be out October 4th.
Next, we have Audrey L. and Audrey W., two true creative talents, by Carter Higgins, illustrated by Jennifer K. Mann. The Audreys are back in this early chapter book series. Carter, you might know from Circle Under Berry on our list, and Jennifer K. Mann illustrated The Camping Trip. So this book is the follow-up to Audrey L. and Audrey W. Best Friends-ish. I feel like that title really captures the relationship between these two girls. Audrey L. and Audrey W. are essentially two second graders with the same name and nothing else in common. And this book follows the Audreys as they deal with the drama that comes with having a new table group, always a huge deal in elementary school, and more specifically, new friends. So Audrey L starts to feel like she's being replaced when Audrey W starts to hang out with a classmate named Bettina more. There's also other quintessential elementary school things that happen, like a half over, which is everything in a sleepover, only that it ends a bit early, and a talent show. So once again, Carter really captures all of the ups and downs of this age group so perfectly in this series and this voice. And this is coming out on October 11th.
Right, we're so excited for this. If You Were a City is the first time collaboration between two of our favorite creators, so Kyo McClear and Francesca Sana. Kyo's most recent book with Chronicle was Hello Rain, which received rave reviews. Kyo's an exceptionally thoughtful and versatile writer. Her inspiration for this book was both her experiences growing up in London, Tokyo, and Toronto, as well as her love for the cities real and imagined that she discovered in books, such as Harriet's New York City, Madeline's Paris, and Richard Scarry's Busytown. And then Francesca's most recent book with Chronicle, My Friend Earth, also received stellar reviews. And although we knew Francesca was an amazing artist, we didn't know originally that she had a degree in architecture, which made her the ideal illustrator for this book. And what's unique about this book, while it gives a wide range of cities, it also gives readers a way to think about themselves and their connection to where they live. So from that standpoint, it's more like Carson Ellis's Home than it is a factual book about cities. And what Kyo and Francesca want from this book is for children to use their imaginations to consider what makes each of them unique and how in their uniqueness they can impact the world around them. I love this image. It shows how cities embrace visitors, immigrants, and refugees into their cities. And then I think we have one, yep. This image of children and what they'll do to build the future, both literally and figuratively.
I love how like they're interacting, like they're right in the middle of it, like they are the city essentially.
Same.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Next on our list is Only the Best by award-winning Kate Messiner alongside costume historian Margaret E. Powell and fashion designer Erin K. Robinson, who does all the illustrations in this book. Together, these three creators bring to, the story of the groundbreaking fashion designer Ann Lowe to life. So Ann Lowe grew up in a small Alabama dress shop. She learned from her mother and grandmother, who were both seamstresses, how to sew and design dresses. And over the course of her illustrious career, her designs walked the red carpet and graced the wedding of JFK and Jacqueline Kennedy. So Only the Best documents Anne's persevering creative spirit and her unwavering dedication to her craft despite the many obstacles and setbacks that she faced. Erin's art in particular is just so striking and gorgeous. Since she comes from a fashion design background, you can just see the way she illustrates texture and movement, and every spread with the dresses I think are just so striking. We're thrilled to be presenting this nonfiction picture book biography coming out in October, and just being able to share Anne's incredible story with young readers next month.
Just found out today that it just got a starred review from School Library Journal. So great news.
Hey.
Next up, another very serious nonfiction title. This is Digestion, the musical, told in a way that only Adam Rex could do so, in a musical form. And that this book is exactly what it says. It is the scientific process of digestion as you've never seen it before, told through a musical with Candy in the role of the small town kid who just wants to make it big, the baby carrots as the Greek chorus narrating all the action, and cameos from every body part that plays an important role in transforming food from ingredients to nutrition. So sweet little Candy just wants to be digested, the dream of any food group, but the body's skeptical because she is just empty calories, edible junk. They don't want her wasting energy, but at the end we discover that Candy's sugary outer shell was hiding her inner worth, a peanut. Sweet on the inside, protein on the inside. But like any Adam Rex text, this book is hilarious with laughs for all types of humor, for all ages. Every organ has a different personality across which you'll find wordplay, irony, cleverness, sarcasm, not to mention literal potty humor, which you can see right here. We've gotten to the end, my friend, and all that's left to do is a show-stopping number, and that number is at 2. Let's get this potty started. And of course, the appendix is about the appendix.
I know we're talking about Halloween costumes earlier, but I think
Oh yeah.
the carrot Greek chorus would be a great
Oh yeah.
contender in a
Yep.
group.
Solid choice.
And now switching gears,
Yeah.
this is Seen and Unseen by Elizabeth Partridge, illustrated by Lauren Tamaki in her Kidlit illustration debut. These two creators come together to spotlight 3 photographers who documented the incarceration of those of Japanese descent at Manzanar during World War II. So there's Dorothea Lange, who is Elizabeth Partridge's godmother, Toyo Miyataki, and Ansel Adams. The book explores their work and, most importantly, their perspective on what had happened in the camps. It really brings together, as you can see, a combination of art, media, and records to create these very multimedia visuals. And there's one spread where Lauren, there's a photo, and then Lauren actually expands on that photo, like what's going on outside of it, and putting that into the scene. Overall, I just think that this book is, incredibly important and really a necessary read when we're thinking about what stories get told and what stories don't, which parts of histories are taught in mainstream education and which parts are skimmed over or omitted. Also, in the back, there is a piece on the model minority myth and its implications, which Lauren wrote and drew from her own experiences in putting that together. This will be on sale October 25th, and yeah, I'm really excited to be bringing this to you as well.
This next book, which is nonfiction picture book about the life of Isamu Noguchi, this happens to be on the same list, but I do feel like is a pretty great pairing to be read together, is highlighting the childhood and adult work of the artist Isamu Noguchi as a sculpture. Also, his Akari lamps changed pretty much the way modern buildings light their spaces. But before that, he was a kid, and this is part of that is this story. So Noguchi was a Japanese American artist, and he gave the world light, but the world was not always so giving in return. So he was growing up mixed race, born in the United States, but raised in Japan. And growing up mixed race, he found himself perceived as an outsider who didn't really belong in either country. And so, unable to identify fully as either Japanese or American, he conceived of himself as a snail, capable of retreating into his creative shell when the world did not embrace him. And throughout his art, the snail could shape, hold, and create light to conquer the darkness of the world. He could be at home in his own skin, even when others did not approve of him. The book uses his art and history to discuss mixed racial identity, making a complicated topic more accessible to young readers. Emily Hughes, the artist here, author and illustrator, is Japanese American, and Noguchi is an incredibly important figure to her as an artist. This is her passion project, her baby as she calls it, the first nonfiction book from a beloved award-winning creator, and you can feel that passion coming through on every single page with every single decision. Her words and her illustrations are light and dark, complex yet simple, youthful but refined, making everything in this book echo the dual identity of Noguchi himself. The book closes with a beautiful author's note from Emily on the connection and Noguchi's gift in his art and his way of life. I love this spread in particular, Carrie, like the way that she's able to capture light and is just really incredible. I get truly emotional. I feel like when I read her words and the way that she connects to him as an artist as well.
Yeah, no, same here. And like, it's so sad because the spread, I feel like what you're seeing on the screen doesn't do
Yeah.
the actual image justice. Like, you need this book in your hands to be seen.
Yeah, we just got finished copies 2 weeks ago, and like truly people you like were crowding around in the office and like fawning over them. So yeah, if there's a book that you need to like get a finished copy of, it is for sure, I would say, this one.
Yeah, yeah. Next on our list, we have Heartstring by Book Boynton Hugh. This is just a really sweet picture book with like a very nice message. In the book, readers follow the titular Heartstring, as you can see across this page, which takes them through places, communities, different people, and shows how, you know, despite how vast the world feels at sometimes, we're all still tied together. I really love how there's so much softness in Brooke's art, and the way she plays with color as well. It's just a very sweet, reassuring picture book for kids who might be missing a grandparent living in a different country, who might be feeling sort of nervous maybe about moving into a different neighborhood, or like moving schools even. The spread is one of my favorites here, just an illustration of the world, but also this sort of like heartstring that brings together communities, or makes you feel a little bit more connected to other people than you might like normally feel. And this book will be available December 20th. If the next slide.
All right. Thank you all so much for sticking with us. This is our last title being presented. It is Woven of the World. It is a lush and lyrical meditation on the history and craft of weaving, with rich metaphors about how we weave ourselves together in community and unexpected patterns of life. The vignettes in this book give just a few glimpses into the world's countless weaving traditions, and they highlight milestone moments in history as well as ongoing contemporary artistry. So many crafting traditions are passed down from grandparent or parent to child, or from an elder craftsperson to an apprentice. And so as our protagonist learns the craft of weaving traditions around the world and sees her elder apply them to her own weaving practice at home, she inherits the skill and wisdom of her elder. A bit of the text says, "In these echoes, youth and elder, one to learn and one to guide, pass much more than yarn between us as the loaded shuttle glides." There's also four spreads of back matter, which includes nonfiction content on the history of weaving, how weaving works, as well as authors and illustrators' notes. So the author, Katie, has written picture books, chapter books, novels. She's a regular contributor to the Nerdy Book Club, and she has tons of fun research stories about this book. She watched and interviewed many weavers, and she also, in writing it, or in order to write it, taught herself how to weave. And then Dinara is a self-taught illustrator. She's Uzbeki Muslim on one side of her family, Russian Christian on the other. From Uzbekistan, arrived in the US at age 22, but in growing up where she was, she said there were just decorative arts everywhere. And it was just something that everyone did as they went about their day-to-day lives to make it a little more beautiful. It just really comes through in the artwork in this book. Every spread, I'm like, I want to have a print of that, and I would like to have that hanging in my house.
Also, this book has like one of my favorite cats, I feel like.
Cats.
Yeah,
That's
like
amazing.
a little cat.
Yeah. A good picture of a cat is.
Yeah.
And although it's on our fall list, it is coming out in February. A little bit later. Well, thank you all so much for your attention, and we are, agree, Stephanie. Cats make every book better.
Thank you, Carrie and Andy, for being here. It was so great to have you both. So I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you doing this, and it was such a fun time.
Yes, and if anyone has any questions or if wants any review copies or anything, feel free to email either one of us for sure.
Yes, there's plenty of review copies we can send along if you want any copies. Like, we seriously mean it. Just feel free to reach out. It's not a problem.
Absolutely.